because I had such a poor academic performance in my past 1L year, fall 2016 and spring 2017. I've been on this great search throughout this 2-year waiting period of ways to see, adopt, and even just observe higher level performance behaviors and ways of thinking, not only just in the law field, but just competitive performances in general. And looking at other content, whether it's just combat sports, training camps, football training camps, and listening to coaches, they would always talk about standards of excellence, standards this, standards that. And I was like, we think about competitive performances, it's all about a game of behaviors. Behaviors is what allows a competitive performer to be efficient or inefficient. Performances is a matter of strengths or weaknesses. It's a test. So I was like, I'm not going to look at school as just school anymore. Like, I'm looking at law school as a type of performance. When we're in the courtroom or making a deal in the boardroom, it's a performance. It's not just school. We're putting on a performance to be efficient, putting on performance for a client to produce a certain result so that we get paid for it. Just like a dancer, they perform and they get money for it. It's kind of like the same concept, but it's a behavioral type of way. When we think about high-level achievers or performers, they have a set of behaviors that allows them to be efficient over and over and over. So when I thought about standards, I'm thinking about just standards in general. Standards are what we demand from ourselves and for ourselves. We have standards of romantic relationships. It's the quality of something. Like, we demand it. It's a must. Like, it's not a should. It's like we say we have standards. Like, that standard has to be met. It must be met. So I'm thinking, what if I can have these high performance standards, something that can govern my behavior and progress, versus when I reflected on my past 1L year, my behaviors were just all over the place. Again, it was just undisciplined. But if we can have some standards and thinking on a higher level, high performance, like a high performance lawyer, where we can't just develop these poor behaviors and habits in law school, and we can't wait to develop them when we become practicing lawyers. It's actually real when our law school say our legal career starts the first day that we walk into law school, that we have to establish these habits, these behaviors right there from the get-go. So I thought, okay, standards. I didn't have any standards of demanding behaviors, ways of thinking, ways of strategizing these systems. I didn't have that in my 1L year. Just kind of just going with the flow. But we just can't go with the flow. Especially now we know what we know and we've been through it. We had to have these systems in place, these standards in place that's going to guarantee our exam performance success without a shadow of a doubt. So I created these high performance standards, and seeing in class performance and even outside class performance, that it's not just studying, it's not just school. Like, I'm putting on a performance, I'm putting on a show. Like, this is an active. So I created 4 sections: in-class performance standards, study review, outside of class performance standards, and hypotheticals, practice problems, standards performance, and legal writing performance standards. And I broke it up like this because it's sectioned like this within our 1L year and even 2L, 3L year, like in-class performance. We usually, or we went to class in fear, just all hesitant, and it just wasn't really maximizing our performance, maximizing our learning. What if we can have these standards, what we demand from ourselves, that no matter what, like this is what we must do. This is what we demand from ourselves every single class. So I have the link, a Google Doc below for you to review. I thought about posting it in the description box. It was pretty long, but I think that you can better review it in a Google Word doc. And it's not an exhaustive list, but it's something that I've been working on as I'm putting myself in the best position to be accepted back into law school. And these are standards that will govern my behavior, my progress on a day-to-day basis, on a class-to-class basis, that I can go by and even have that immediate feedback loop to see if I am meeting these standards that I set out for myself, and that these are higher level performance ways that I see a lawyer performing. That, again, we got to simulate ourselves as lawyers and not just mere law students. And we are developing skill sets and developing value as law students so that this can translate over to when we become practicing lawyers, and that these are skill sets and values that we can pitch and market towards the firm and towards our clients. That if we're just doing school, that it's not necessarily bringing value in a way. That's why I believe that value gets higher more than a degree, that we're just doing school, we're just studying, but we're not really digging deep into the skill set and value. And that goes for undergraduate and graduate. I believe that's why a lot of students don't land the jobs that they land, because they can't really talk about the skill set and the value that they get from schooling. And schooling we don't really see it as a form of training. So we're kind of behind in that sense. And it's something that I've just observed, and just being in school forever and just being in academic environments throughout my life, and just kind of seeing why people land the jobs that they do and they don't. So I think that's one of the reasons why I kind of observed this and seeing like, okay. So I'm not going to go through my whole standard list, but even as an in-class performance, raising my hand every single class and connecting my standard of this immediate skill set reason and the long-term value of a lawyer skill set, and connecting that, I believe it helps to raise the standard and to meet the standard. If we can connect the reason and even the long-term potential of the skill that we're trying to develop, it makes it that much more realer and just more demanding for us to meet it and exceed it. And it just governs our behaviors. And then we're able to track it and to see. So raising my hand every single class, see, we're used to just kind of just being passive and kind of just not really raising our hand, but that's not active performance. That's not active listening. It's more, but as lawyers, we're not going to be the ones in fear. Like, we are active. We are the ones that are responding. So just from me having that standard, it's not about showing how smart or I know the answer. It's just being a part of the discussion and being active. Performance is active. It's not passive. And another standard that I set was having a quick response or counter response to my professor's hypotheticals or questions that they may ask within a matter of 5 to 10 seconds. And that's not about raising my hand. I may not get called on or somebody else may raise their hand, but just in my mind that I'm having an answer to myself versus depending on somebody else's answer, but that I can think in the moment, quick on my feet. And that's a skill set to develop. That's a standard of behavior to live by and to meet. Because as a lawyer, whether it's in a courtroom or negotiations, we got to be able to think quick on our feet. And we can develop that skill within in class discussion. So I want to pay attention to that more. I wasn't doing none of that. I wasn't really raising my hand like that. It was just like, you calling me, you calling me. If you don't, you don't. But yet, again, performance. It's all about the performance. Going on to the study, review, outside of class. Performance. That I want to develop the speed of reading cases and being able to brief the cases more efficiently and just fast. We got to think about speed. We got to think about us being actual lawyers. It's all about the speed of the client, speed in people skills, speed of getting things done, it's executing. That we can't just spend all the time just reading cases, and it's so much work throughout the 1L year that we got to keep up with the pace. It's fast paced. Same thing goes with the law industry and work for a firm or just have all these cases and deals that we got to be able to work under speed and time conditions. So it's not about starting out the gates trying to, speed race through it, but over time developing the speed and timing ourselves and really tracking that. And over time, we're able just to knock it out quick, but being accurate, not just doing it just to do it and just speeding just to speed, but we have that speed because it's a performance, that a service that we are producing and providing. And I have another standard of immediately organizing my notes and reviewing straight to the library after class. So I'm going to still be in the part-time evening program my 1L year once I reapply and get accepted back in. Because as I said, hey, we getting back in. But not going off the feeling of, I'm tired, just going home. Like, nah, my standard is I am going straight to the library after class, going up to the 5th floor, reorganizing, reviewing my class notes right then and there. That's my standard. And standard can be like a system in a sense, but I got to live by that and meet by that. Going on to the hypotheticals, practice problems, as I said before, I wasn't really doing much of this until the end of the semester, and that's what ate me alive. But now I have a standard of practicing, testing myself after every legal concept, going by the syllabus, whether it's contracts, property, torts, making sure that I fully understand that legal concept before we move on to another one. And as we know, it's fast-paced. It's like we learn one concept and the cases within that concept, then we move on to the next. But first is eliminating procrastination and trying to learn it and trying to get it all together at the end of the semester. Nah. Moment to moment, day by day, class by class, bi-weekly, testing myself. So that's the standard that I want to set. Governing that behavior, governing the progress and tracking it. And even with legal writing, the performance of establishing and sticking to deadlines and composing, editing, researching, proofreading, editing, having a standard of that and keeping that promise to myself in each part of it, that I'm not just not meeting it. It's like, nah, the standard is I get it done when I say I'm going to get it done and not giving myself a way out or excuse. It's like, that's the standard. And this is going to translate over to when we become practicing lawyers, that we're not giving our way out. Like, we are executing, we're following through, we're doing everything in our behavior, everything in our power to meet and exceed it so that we can move on to the next thing. As we know, tasks and they can pile up. It's like it's always coming. It's always coming. So we gotta be able to move with that speed, efficiency to knock it out and move on to the next thing. But